Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Aqua Critical Mode Difficulty walkthrough. That is a mouthful, and I'm not entirely too sure the best way to say the introduction to these, but just know this, folks, I'm not in love with the sound of my own voice. I truly am not. I committed to commentating for the full duration of my videos. It's something that I committed to from day one. It's my particular style, and there are days when I hate it as much as some of my greatest naysayers, but, you know, in the goal of professionalism, I want to be consistent with it, and I do think that it's definitely something that some people like, and of course some people don't. But this is Radiant Historia, which is a really fun level. It's colourful, it's cheerful, it's got great music, and most importantly, it's got some fun gameplay. But it has to be said, some of the bosses here, very challenging. And this enemy right in front, that little ground thing that's about to fire its little sonic boom bullshit at you, never underestimate that creature. Those things will kill you faster than anything in modern gaming. Like, it's just death. It's just, ugh, they're like lasers. Laser beams of doom. That's pretty annoying. But there you go. I think I pressed the wrong button to open the chest. Oh, weird pots. But we got a strike raid, which is a fun technique. It does give you iframes, but it has mad recovery, which is always a bad thing. You'll notice I think we're using a different keyblade. One of my criticisms with the keyblade on this game is they're practically 2D. Like, I love the creativity in keyblades, and I love the fact that none of them look even remotely close to something that you could use as a sword. But you've got to give them some thickness. I appreciate that this was on the PSP, but even so, dude, like, two-dimensional bullshit. What is this, Duke Nukem? Goodness me. Look how much life this thing has. By the way, if you've not noticed, this is a legitimate jump in difficulty, and if you feel like your damage isn't up to par, feel free to farm some enemies, build some skills, build some levels. I do not do that on any of my campaigns, and it does make it slightly more difficult, but not all that much more. And if you're doing a level 1 run, that's just life. You want to get to the most overpowered thing you can find as quick as possible, and for Aqua at this point, it is probably either Fission Firaga, if I've got that, shot locks like I'm doing right now, which can be really effective, or just getting the moves so that you can mitigate the amount of time needed to get to Spellweaver. Which might not be the most interesting thing to watch, but if you have the luxury of not uploading things to YouTube, you don't have to worry, do you? You can do the thing that's effective. And that is pretty much the way I always used to play before I had this channel. And the channel has definitely had an effect on how I approach certain things in games. But I think it's been a positive one overall, because it's made me push myself. And I think anything that motivates you to be better is a great thing. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, in anything, you know, school, career, you know, pastimes, anything that makes you aspire for you know, performance enhancement is a good thing. But just be careful, because I don't have to warn you how dangerous they are. If you've played this on Critical, you know how dangerous they are. That being said, you can reflect that projectile back, and if you get close to them, they'll get out of the ground, and then they become like massive pussies. But I think they have an ability to put you to sleep, so be careful of that as well. But just know that everything in this mission is going to really surprise you with how much they take and how much they dish out. Because it is... Look how much I'm not taking off this dude, by the way. Then again, that ice did really well. And then Fission Firaga is just god tier anyway. But you're going to see a definite difference here. But the boss is not too bad. However, Aqua gets some pretty tough bosses. Like, her final sequences are pretty much some of the most difficult ones. Of course, Terra's is the worst. I think everybody knows that. Terra's boss, goodness me, it's like, it's so strange because it's not hard in like real difficulty hard, I would say. And I'm kind of blanking on what I would compare it to as an example of actually legitimately difficult bosses. It's hard because there's a gimmick to it that can get you killed really easily. And the main gimmick is he gets too many iframes. The boss spends so long completely invincible. There are only so many occasions where you can do damage to him. And, like, I think he can even heal. which is just the worst. And I know that you can as a player, and it's one of those things, isn't it, where we want it one way for us and one way for them, but is there anything worse than a boss that heals, really? Aside from minions and helpers, or a boss that dies and then revives itself, I just don't think there's anything worse. Like, there's a boss in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, or Street Fighter Third Strike, I'm not entirely sure how you say it, and he's called Gil, and he's essentially just this, you know, pretty basically designed angel man, who is kind of yin-yangy but with weird colours. And if you kill this guy, or if you beat him, and it's quite tough to beat him, because he's one of those fucking Capcom SNK bullshit syndrome bosses that's just really unfair, basically, especially with the AI on those games, because they used to kick your ass back then. But if you kill him and he has Super Bar, he can regenerate himself. And if you're, you know, really good at the game or really experienced with it, you understand that there are certain things you can do to stop this, a la killing him when he doesn't have Super Meter, but also you can interrupt his regeneration with like a super or something. I think I saw somebody do, but me, I had no idea what was happening. I'm like, is this an unwinnable fight? What's going on? And when I did beat him, I didn't even know what I did different. He just didn't revive, and later on I found out what it was. But at the time, all you can think of is this is fucking bullshit? And I always feel that way. And I was watching a guy do a speedrun of Metal Gear Solid quite recently, because I'm thinking of going for a big boss rank, and that game is a ton of fun, and I haven't covered it on the old channel. And I was watching somebody fight Psycho Mantis, because Psycho Mantis is a boss that he's not difficult, he's just long. And I was wondering if somebody'd come up with a super, you know, awesome strategy of destroying him really quickly, because that's kind of what speedrunners do. And my strategy for him is just, you know, lay down and then get up and shoot him, lay down and then get up and shoot him. And if you do that, the only thing he can really hit you with is the horizontal painting, or is it vertical, I don't know which way it goes, and the energy ball that he does. But it's a really slow fight and it's really boring. So I watched a speedrunner doing it, and he did this thing that was great. Like, after a frame of damage before it changed phases in his attack, he threw a grenade at him, and the grenade did massive damage, but because the phases of the fight are dictated by his HP bar, what happened is his life went down, and then it went back up. And I just think that that's bullshit. I think that's really shitty, that it's designed in such an arbitrary way that it does that. It compensates to get the game to script the way that it was intended to script. And in a lot of games, it would have just skipped the phase. But in this one, you can see the life bar go back up. And is there anything like more demotivational than watching a boss's HP go back up? Especially if it's a tough boss. Like, how many people on Metal Gear Rising on your first attempt got up to Armstrong and he healed when you did the green core on his back section wrong? Like, you didn't know what was happening, you went to attack him and he countered you and he got a ton of life back. Or Devil May Cry 4, when you went up against good old Agnes, or Angus, I forget his bloody name, all the time, and he did that lifesteal, and you're like, what the hell's going on? So many instances of bosses being assholes, and that is one of the reasons that, you know, really compounds that fight to be pretty terrible. And of course, the last thing to blame there is Terra himself, because Terra has the least useful dodge, because he's completely vulnerable on the back end of it, and it takes some recovering. He has only a one-directional counter, so if anything comes from your sides, you are fucked. Like, he is much trickier to play as in those sequences, but it can still be done, folks. There is a lot of great videos of people beating, like, the mysterious figure, that douchey boss that I hate, with Terra, and you know, some really impressive gameplay. But that last boss, he's definitely something, and hopefully if you get to him, if you're playing on that campaign, going for trophies or just for enjoyment, you manage to take him out sooner rather than later, because the strategy is real simple. Shot lock to try and survive that bullshit move he does, which I forget. Meteor, you know, hopefully you've learned how to dodge it, because he's going to do that a couple times. And then just kind of put the mines around yourself, counter him, that kind of stuff. It really doesn't get much more simple than that. It's just all about what he decides to do. But thank you for listening, thank you for watching. I hope it helped, even though we're not on the tough section just yet. But that level can be a bit of a difficulty bump, so just, you know, take it slow, do your best. You take care now.